What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Jeff Benjamin with iDownload Blog. This is Let's Talk Jailbreak episode number 37. I got Sebastien Page on the line. What's up, Sebastien?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Not a lot. And we also have Cody Lee on the line. What's up, Cody?
What's up, Jeff? What's up, Sebastien?
Hey.
This is Let's Talk Jailbreak episode number 37. This is a special episode.
Super special.
Reason being is because... Drum roll.
There is a jailbreak for iOS 7.
Really?
Yeah, that was a terrible introduction. All this was a terrible mess. I'm saying what's up, you say not much. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on right now today since 4 in the morning or so. With, of course, the release for iOS 7 jailbreak.
Yeah, I'm chalking it up to it's 6 o'clock here on Sunday night. We're kind of all thrown off, I think.
Yeah. So you made an interesting comment, Sebastien. 4 in the morning. Like, when did this jailbreak drop? First of all, I just want to get that out of the way.
Ask Cody. He was the one on it. I was sleeping.
So was I.
Okay, so yeah, I guess for people tuning in, you obviously know that an iOS 7 jailbreak was released earlier today. Really caught everybody off guard, to be honest. We didn't have any kind of indication. If you were around for the Evasion jailbreak for iOS 6 earlier this year, they had a status bar on a website and you could track their progress, and we knew up to the day, up to the minute even, when it was going to hit. This was nothing like that. This was completely out of the blue. To be honest, I think a lot of us thought that we were still months out just because they hadn't, the invaders hadn't shared much information on their progress. So I'm sitting here on my computer. I'm kind of a night owl sometimes, so I'll be up till 3 or 4 in the morning. Yeah, I know it's terrible. It's a terrible way to live, honestly.
No, I'm just thinking, like, man, what could have possibly been going through your mind when you saw that jailbreak?
I thought I needed to get to bed. Honestly, I was really ready to turn in. It was 4 something in the morning, and I'd just done a few posts. Just like weekend posts. I think it was like a game sale or something like that. And I saw this starting to go down on Twitter, and I thought, there's no way this is going on. And so, I go through my usual channel checks. I'm looking at Pod2G's Twitter and the actual official Invaders Twitter, and I'm looking at the website, and I thought, man, this is really happening, I guess. So, I threw something up on IDB as quick as I could. It was real short. It was like, so a jailbreak just got released. Obviously, this is still developing, ... And over the next several minutes, and, that turned into hours, we kind of got our bearings. And, jailbreak was released. I think we were one of the first to report it, just by happenstance, honestly, because we usually sleep in on Sunday mornings, right? We run the automatic, the top week posts. That runs early Sunday morning, and then we all kind of trickle in, later in the day. So just by happenstance, I happened to be on and up, and we were one of the first to jump on it. And we got up. We were really quick, to get up tutorials on how to jailbreak using Mac, how to jailbreak on Windows. I text Jeff and Sebastien, both of you guys. Jeff responded, surprisingly. It was pretty early for him, but he responded a little bit after I texted him. Sebastien had his phone on Do Not Disturb, So
what did I reply to? What was my reply when you texted me?
Oh, I think I apologized, right? I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I know it's really early there, but I think a jailbreak just released, and you were like, no, don't ever apologize for that, man. I can't believe this is going on right now. I think we were both just kind of in shock, just couldn't believe that it had happened. And Sebastien eventually hopped on not too much later, and yeah, it was just nuts, man. It was one post after the other. It was how to do it on Windows, how to do it on Mac. Here's some frequently asked questions we're getting. Here's the answers to them. I mean, I thought our coverage was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought so too. Sebastien was prolific, and so are you, Cody. But anytime there's a jailbreak, dude, there's like a red line, a hotline going to my bedroom. You can dial that number anytime.
Well, I wasn't Do Not Disturb, and Cody sent me a couple of text messages, I think, and he left a voicemail as well. And I actually told him this morning, I was like, next time this happens, just ring me twice, because, you have this setting on Do Not Disturb that you can turn on, that if people call you twice within a 2-minute time frame, then the second time the phone will actually ring in case it's an emergency, for example. And today was totally an emergency. So I woke up at 7:20 to the beautiful sound of my daughter waking up and kind of calling for us. And then I just grabbed my phone and I saw that there was a bunch of text messages. And the very first one I could see was the latest one I had. And that was a text message from Jim and our accessory editor. And he said, I saw something like, oh, by the way, this is crazy, this jailbreak news. I've been away from Twitter for a few hours. I just realized that. I'm like, what? And then I scroll down and I see, other text messages and I see Cody's text message. So I just, got up and went straight to the computer, turned it on, went back to the room, brushed my teeth, threw some water on my face, and sat at the computer since 7:24 in the morning until 3 o'clock when I actually stood up and went to the kitchen and had something to drink and some food. I was starting to be depleted out there. But that was a surprise. I mean, that was extremely unexpected. So that was definitely a surprise. A good one at it, but surprising. Man, I hate how jailbreaks always take me by surprise. They always seem to happen at the worst time for me. Like I'm either sleeping, or it's my wife's birthday and we're somewhere on a weekend, or I'm out of the country. There's always something going on. This time I was sleeping.
I text Jeff. Well, after me and him had talked for a minute, I was like, hey, I've texted Sebastien a few times. Do you think I should call him? I felt so bad. It was like really early in the morning. I was like, I just feel, it's just like human nature, I guess, for me to feel bad. I knew it was an emergency, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So Jeff was like, yeah, you need to call him, dude. So I tried ringing. I didn't even think to try call him twice to get through Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. Oh, well, it all turned out okay. You guys took good care of the site all the way until you went and took a nap. And then I took over for a few posts on IDB to clear things up a bit, because this is not your typical jailbreak. Not only in the way it was released out of the blue like this, but also how it was released or what came with it maybe is more important. For those of you who don't know, and I don't think many of our listeners will not know about this, but if you happen to install Evasion on your device and your Evasion picks up that the main language on your device is Chinese, it will install not Cydia by default. It will install a Chinese installer called Taiji. My Chinese is very rusty, but I believe that's the way you pronounce it. So it's basically a Chinese version of Cydia. I'm not saying it's a Cydia ripoff. It's just one of many installers similar to Cydia. Except it's Chinese, it's all in Chinese, made by Chinese people for Chinese people, really. And so that was a little bit of a confusion for some users, and there quickly were reports that this was facilitating piracy. There was also reports, of course, of people thinking that their data would be stolen and sent back to China for Chinese people to do whatever they want to do with it. And so we tried to clear things up a little bit. And later this afternoon, the evaders themselves came out and published a statement clearing all these things out, but still leaving a lot of people kind of in the dark. And not even in the dark, but a lot of people, it seems, kind of lost their faith in the evaders and maybe in the jailbreak community altogether. And that is kind of sad.
I've noticed even some developers, I think, some tweak developers, Elios, I can't think of his last name right now, but just several developers, high-profile developers in my feed said, if some of these stories are true, I may just be done with it all. There was some disheartening stuff, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. Initially, now this was before the evaders had explained everything, but it got pretty brutal there for a little bit. I noticed other sites were reporting evasion, Chinese evasion installs cracked app store. It kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? significant. What am I looking for? Anyways, it's sensationalist. There we
Yes.
go. It was very much. I even tweeted about this. I was like, I'm not sure where they're getting this from. What I understand, this Chinese application that's being installed is a lot like Cydia, in that yes, it's possible that there's some cracked stuff on there, but same with Cydia, you have to manually install it. There's all this stuff you have to do. I was under the impression that it's a lot like Cydia, and I didn't agree with a lot of those reports coming out initially.
But as it turns out, it does seem that Taiji comes with a bunch of repos that offer cracked applications right off the bat.
Right. That's a big difference.
And that's a big difference. Yeah. I talked earlier today to someone close to the evaders, and he made it clear that the evaders would not settle for this, and that was part of the agreement they had with Taiji that there would be no piracy. So when I wrote my initial post explaining what is Taiji and what does China have to do with Evasion 7, I think I had something about piracy in there, saying, well, yes, you can theoretically have pirated repos on it, but by default it shouldn't be like this. And if it is, the evaders will report this to Taiji, and Taiji will take care of it and remove all these repos instantly. And it seems that's something that's been going on today. I know Part2G tweeted a couple of things back and forth, I think, with Sorik, saying if you see some pirated content on there, just let me know and I'll send this information to Taiji, and Taiji will take care of it right away. That's what I gather from it. But for example, a few minutes ago, I saw a tweet from CH Paul Grant, a very famous jailbreak developer. He mostly popular for tweaks like Zephyr, which is one of my favorites, of course. He said that by default on Taiji, there is a repo that has all his tweets pirated, cracked, available. So by default, and it's and he I didn't mention, but he had a screenshot of it, and it's a very popular repo among crackers and app pirates. But on Cydia, that's something you would have to install manually yourself. You would have to go out of your way to do it. And it seems that it was installed by default on Taiji. So this definitely sucks. And this is not good. Now,
no.
Go ahead.
I was just going to throw in there that you really, I mean, obviously we can't know because we're from the outside looking in, but you really have to wonder, were they aware of this piracy issues? I know they said that the invaders said that piracy was forbidden in their contract with these guys, but I mean, from what I've heard, and I've talked to some people about this, some people have even tweeted me that are from China or in the China area, and they said that this, Taiji has a really bad rap over there. Everybody knows that it's kind of a bad deal. So I know they explained everything, and I actually thought you did a good job of breaking it down in your post, Sebastien, but I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions.
I think I do believe, and from, again, talking to this one person, I do believe the evaders had only good intentions. Their intentions were not to release something that would allow some people in China to have access to cracked content. How do you pronounce pirated?
Pirated, yeah.
Pirated content, thank you. So yes, I don't think that was their intention to give people access to pirated content. Obviously they would have nothing to gain except maybe money from the deal they would cut with this company.
Yeah, and Cydia, that you have access to pirated content there. I mean, it's not hard to get that access.
But not by default. On
right,
Cydia.
Not by default. And that is a question. But regardless of what, store is placed on your device, that, pirated content is just a few steps away in either case. So it's hard to believe that was their intention, or that they would have went into the deal knowing that this would be a default repo. I just don't see, like you said, like what would they possibly have to gain out of that part of the deal. Now, as far as monetary gain, that's a whole nother.
Well, we should probably touch on that, right? We don't want to speculate, obviously, on anything other than what we kind of know, but there's definitely some kind of monetary benefit here. Is that right? I mean, they struck a deal. I think they even say in their Reddit post that they struck a deal, monetary deal. What do you guys think about that? Because I mean, I know that they've deferred donations now to the Electronic Frontier Foundation and some other stuff, some other organizations. So they're not taking donations. They obviously got a pretty big sum of money here. What is your take on that?
Well,
Do you think that's thumbs up or?
Well, I'll just say this: if they're not taking donations, then obviously that they were well compensated.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my exact feeling, because we talked about this on last week's episode of Let's Talk Jailbreak, and we were estimating that we had read a number somewhere that they had probably received somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 in donations and ad revenue for the Evasion jailbreak for iOS 6 earlier this year.
Right. And again, in the same post about Taiji that I published this morning, I asked someone close to the evaders, the same person again who's been providing us this information. And it would be probably very easy for someone to go against this information, saying maybe it's made up or maybe it's not from a reliable source. Of course, you don't have to believe us. As always, this is the internet. You don't have to believe what you read there. But I can assure you that this information is extremely reliable, and it's actually been verified along the day when the evaders came out with their own statement. It actually corroborated what I actually published earlier during the day. So in my post about Taiji, there was a part asking about did the evaders get paid $1 million to bundle Taiji into Evasion 7. This $1 million is a number that actually came up earlier during the day. And I asked my source about it, and this person didn't deny $1 million. This person didn't say yes either, but this person didn't deny it. So if just going over what I wrote this morning, if I had to take a guess, a wild but educated guess, that would be that, yes, this $1 million is very plausible.
No, you're saying 1 million, right? With 6 zeros.
What a crazy number. Because you imagine there's 4 of them, right? There's Muscle Nerd, Pod2G, Planet Bean, and Pimpskex. And then obviously SureNext does some of the interface stuff for them. And I think I've seen 1 or 2 other names mentioned in the thank yous or whatnot. But ultimately, there's 4 or 5 of these guys. Well,
the main people are Pimpskex, Nikias, his name is Nikias, there is Pod2G, and there is Planet Being. That's the 3 main people. And then I believe that closer to them is Muscle Nerd, which I believe doesn't have to do much with the actual jailbreak, exploiting everything. I think is more here to package everything up together once it's done. That's my understanding anyway. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. And then there is people like SureNext, who did the logo and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's very minor. Basically has no control over what's going on in the jailbreak. And I think there is Nikia's wife who put the GUI for the GUI. I always call it GUI. I think it's pronounced GUI. You put the GUI together for Evasion 7, and she was the one who actually put it together for Evasion last year too. So that's 3 main people. A lot of money. Yeah, that's 3 main people. And 1 person, Muscle Nerd, having a less important role in all this. But 3 main people. And if again, this is not sure, if it was like $1 million to share between all of them, that's a pretty good payday.
It really is. Incredible.
That's a pretty good payday. But like we discussed last week, these people work a lot for this. I mean, they've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours each on that stuff. Right. So, and this is probably like the price they pay that we don't see. I would imagine that when you do this all day and all night, it probably has a negative impact on your social life. And if you're married, I mean, I'm serious. This is, and these guys, I mean, I know Pod2G has a girlfriend. I know Planet Being, I don't think he has anyone, I'm not sure. Nikias has a wife, I mean, and babies too. I think he has twins. So I mean, that has to play a major impact on their personal life, and there's a price for this, and maybe the price is $1 million.
Yeah. I want to look at this from the other side real quick. You have to wonder who would pay these guys $1 million just to include their app store. I think I sent Jeff over this statistic when we were kind of going back and forth on this, but Pod2G for the evasion jailbreak for iOS 6, he released some numbers that basically showed where all the hits were coming from and how many had been received on the evasion website. And most of it was from China. I think there was, what did it say, Jeff? Was it 3 million? Some 3 million hits just in the first couple of days for the evasion website came from China. So huge market there. I could imagine somebody paying that kind of money for that many eyeballs.
Yeah, especially if it's a repo that comes already packaged, so people don't have anything to do to get it on. They don't have to go out of their way to install this package themselves. It's right there. And if this repo has a few ads in there,
right?
And if it has, I don't know, I'm going to say 5-10 million users, over the course of a year, these people probably make up their $1 million investment easily in advertising.
Yeah. So is iOS 7 jailbroken yet? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So your $10,000 bounty, it's going to be like like peanuts.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's funny.
They did update the website, though.
They did?
Yeah, it's iOS 7 jailbrokenyet.com. It says, yes, congrats to the evaders on their jailbreak, but it's not open source yet. Stay tuned for an announcement.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well.
We're kind of talking. I don't want anybody to think that we're just negative or we're just bashing how this thing went down. I tweeted something similar out earlier. I said, just hats off to these guys. I mean, honestly, like I said, because iOS 7 is so much different than iOS 6, we thought it was going to be months and months and months before we were going to see this jailbreak. I know the Evasion 6 jailbreak for iOS 6 took them till February, so another a total of 5 or 6 months. This one took them 90 days, 3 months, and they did it secretly. And just hats off to these guys. It's amazing work. Yeah, so impressive. These guys are super talented, and I think this kind of reaffirms that for anybody that was having doubts.
But now they're still facing this tremendous backlash about this whole China.
What I would have done is I would have posted an explanation right off the bat. Here's the jailbreak. Merry Christmas. If you have, not a disclaimer or anything, just maybe a side note. I would have maybe even put it on the site and said, hey, Chinese users are going to notice that you're getting this secondary app store. You still can install Cydia if you'd like, but the secondary app store is good for Chinese users that maybe English isn't their first language or whatever the reason that they wanted to spin why they included that. I thought it was sketchy how, Soric... Actually, you know about this, Sebastien. You'll help us break this down. But, right away, Soric came out and said, guys, I had no idea that I had no lead-in time that this jailbreak was coming. So therefore, I haven't been able to test a lot of stuff in Cydia. A lot of things are going to be broken. He seemed really taken aback by this. But, Sebastien, you did a great job of kind of explaining how this went down. And like we said before, the information you've been getting was dead on accurate, reaffirmed later by the Evaders post. So can you break that down for us?
Well, I was reading some tweets here and I got confused for a second. First, I just want to agree with you what you said, what the evaders should have done and what they should have done is communicate better. Because there was a complete lack of communication. There was no communication at all about this new Taiji bundle. And I think that was their biggest mistake. Even though most users all users in the US, except if you have your iOS device turned to Chinese, they would have never known about that really. But then rumors started coming out, and people started freaking out, and then there were reports about piracy in Taiji and all that stuff, and then things started to turn very sour, especially against evaders, and that's something that could have been avoided. Maybe it wouldn't have prevented all of it, but it could have prevented some of the backlash if they had communicated better to begin with, saying, what I was thinking they should have done is, before releasing the jailbreak, maybe just even minutes before or a day before, is, when we release the jailbreak, there's going to be this option for Chinese users, and this is how it's going to get installed, and this is how it's going to look like, and this is why we're doing it, and yes, we're getting paid for it, and we're making sure that this is going to be okay for everybody. If they had done this, like, most of the problem would have been avoided. There still would have been the problem of piracy on Taiji, of course, as we see right now, but at least they would have come forward with it instead of getting into damage control as they are right now, because now they're just scrambling to explain themselves and explain what they did and why they did it and how they did it. And that doesn't come across as a very straightforward approach, really, from a user standpoint. It seems like they try to sneak something on us, and they would maybe assume we wouldn't see it. And I don't think that's the case. They didn't try to sneak anything on us because, like Pod2G was saying, it was obvious that this was going to come out at some point, but also jailbreak softwares are very much under scrutiny. Some people in the research industry are gonna look at them. They're gonna dissect every single line of code and figure out if there's really something bad in there. And chances are they will figure out there's nothing bad, and hopefully there's nothing bad in there for users. But again, that's something that evaders could have communicated better on. When I'm trying to figure out why they didn't, I'm just thinking that these guys are not business people. They're not marketing people. They don't think
PR people, yeah.
They're just computer people. They're just, type on a keyboard all day, and that's what they do, and they're extremely good at it. And that's, they're extremely good at it, and they're not extremely good at other things like communicating on this.
Well, I think it was Pod2G that said we've had our heads down in code for the last X amount of days, and I wondered to myself, how did they think it was going to play out? They had to have assumed that there was going to be some kind of backlash when people found this, and especially with any kind of heads up from them, they had to have thought that. But I think it's a lot like what you're saying, Sebastien. These guys aren't really PR people. They just figured, if they really had good intentions and didn't know about the piracy thing, I think they didn't plan a contingency for that, because I think that had a lot to do with it, right? If there hadn't been pirated apps so visible right away in Taiji, I don't think they would have gotten as much backlash. I think a lot of people's problem still feels like these guys sold out. They sold out to the man. These one-time freedom fighters. I'm going to free your device, and we're just doing this for the sake of the community. I think people feel like that's been lost somewhere in these 6 or 7 zeros they got paid.
Right. Absolutely.
I saw somebody say this on Twitter, and I totally agree. Or maybe it was in our comment section of one of our posts today, but it was, my device is jailbroken, it's safe, it's secure, and, to my knowledge anyway, and I didn't have to pay for it. So I still got everything I wanted. I'm not even seeing this Taiji app because I don't have my language set to Chinese, but because I don't really have a problem.
That's something that must be highlighted here. If you don't have your device set to Chinese, this evasion will not install Taiji on it.
Yeah.
So it's not like Taiji was in control of the jailbreak at some point and may have done some things in there to make it seem that you were installing Cydia, but in the background you had some rogue software pushing stuff to China. No. What happened is the evaders took Taiji and bundled it themselves in there. So evaders are responsible for making sure that when you're in the US, for example, you install Cydia, but that's all you get. You don't get Taiji. So, for example, on my device right now, I have Cydia installed, and there is no Taiji because that's the way the software was developed. It's only installed if there is a detection of Chinese language on the device. So a lot of people are freaking out about that. And for good reason too. If you don't know exactly what's going on, and since there's so much confusion right now, it's understandable that you can easily get confused about what's going on and get freaked out about your data being sent to China. But that is not the case. If you installed this in the US and if your device was set to any language but Chinese, you'll be just fine. There will be no track of Taiji on your device, and you'll be just safe and sound.
Right, but I think most people's outrage is coming from the fact that this was not communicated, regardless of whether or not, okay, my language is set to Chinese or English, regardless of all that, the fact that they didn't communicate that this was in there to begin with, period.
It comes off as sketchy.
Yeah, it comes off as super sketchy.
It's sketchy. And, I can only agree.
Yeah, I mean, so that should have been communicated from day one.
And even during the jailbreaking process for Chinese users, instead of selecting Taiji by default and allowing you to check Cydia manually, it should maybe just not do anything and have this screen that lets you choose, saying, okay, what do you want installed on your device? At this time, we can offer Taiji and Cydia. Click check the box. Check the boxes you want. If you want one, if you want just one of the two, if you want both of them, just check what you want and we'll get it done. That would just have been so much easier and so much more straightforward and honest towards people who are installing this thing.
Yeah, so I think people's
get the money for that.
Underlying worry is that, okay, if this wasn't communicated, that this was in there in this jailbreak, then what else could possibly be in there? Or where else could my data possibly be going? So I guess it's just the feeling of people they just don't, I guess they've kind of lost trust a little bit as far as what's included in this jailbreak because it wasn't fully communicated initially.
Well, and there's another piece to this puzzle, right? I think we started talking about this a while ago, Sebastien, and we did get all the way through it. What happened? Why was it released maybe earlier than they had liked? And why wasn't Zurich notified? What's the whole background on that?
Well, from what we gather, again, from the same person, is that evaders were working on some part of the jailbreak, right? They had their own exploits they were working on, and they handpicked a few pieces that they knew would amount to a fully operatable jailbreak, and they set on a bunch of different exploits that they knew they would be able to use in the future. So they were like, okay, we're going to use this, and this, and we'll keep this aside for the future, right? So that was great. Right. That means that they might have something for the future. Then they heard that a couple other group of people were teaming up to release a jailbreak. One of these people was Zurich, and again, I mentioned this in my post explaining why Evasion came out so out of the blue today. And some people were actually criticizing me for saying that, but it turned out to be true that Zurich was part of a jailbreak team, maybe not working deeply onto the whole jailbreaking, but working on packaging something together with other people. And these people, we don't know who they are. I do not know who they are at this point of time. So Zurich was on his side working on a little something. And then on another side, there was GeoHot, our good old friend George, who was back in the game and apparently had several pieces together to create a workable jailbreak. And apparently, there was a race going on here, and GeoHot wanted to be first because that's exciting to be first. I mean, in this world, when you spend so many hours, and this is regarded so well among the community, when you're first, I mean, you're like the king, right? And
right.
and GeoHot likes the spotlight, like it's shown before. And I mean, and there's nothing wrong against that at all. I'm not criticizing here. I mean, if I had his skills, I would want some spotlight as well. So basically, there was a race with GeoHot and the evaders. The thing is, GeoHot was using different pieces from the one used by the evaders. And the evaders were worried that if someone was going to release these pieces right now, so if GeoHot was going to release these pieces right now, it would basically give away all the other pieces that evaders have in stock for the future. So that would just mess up everything, and everybody would lose, basically. Or what? Everybody would win temporarily, but for the long run, we would lose. So that's really part of the reason why evaders kind of rushed out this jailbreak and was like, okay, we have to do it. We have to be first because someone's going to release something else and they're going to give up some of our vulnerabilities that we're using or the vulnerabilities we're sitting on for the future. And two, we spend so much time on this right now that we don't want GeoHot or anybody else to come over and steal the show in front of us. So that's why it came out so unexpectedly. And of course, there was also the claim that parts of the jailbreak had been stolen from the evaders. That's something we talked about last week. There was this rumor saying someone close to the evaders sold a piece of the jailbreak to a third-party company for some money. So there was all these pieces came together and
a lot of smoke.
A lot of smoke indeed. And it started to make sense for the evaders. I mean, when you put yourself in their shoes, it started to make sense for them to release something sooner than later. And as we were able to verify also later today, GeoHot was indeed working on a jailbreak. He mentioned that on his, he didn't clearly mentioned that on his new Twitter account, but he did say that he had registered a new domain name with the word rain in it, similar to his past, purple rain, lime rain, black rain, and all that stuff. He has his own jailbreaks. So he was definitely working on something and he was getting very close to something. That's why everybody rushed out to release this jailbreak.
Yeah, I have his Twitter up right now, and it said, he said, sell was never actually going to happen, so I'm thinking that maybe people were thinking he was going to sell either his jailbreak off, or maybe make a similar deal like the evaders were running, but he said, sell was never going to happen after speaking with lawyers. Actually registered the new rain domain last night, who can find it, but congrats to the evaders, I can't always win. I thought this was so interesting, right? Because, okay, if anybody's been in the jailbreak world for very long. I mean, this goes back a couple of years now. One, this whole situation sounds super familiar, right? Sebastien, you just mentioned lime rain. It seems like there was a situation almost exactly like this way back then with the iPhone, with the chronic iPhone dev team. Is that correct?
Yeah. What was the name of Green Poison, right?
Green Poison, yeah. You remember this, Jeff, when this kind of went down?
Yeah.
With and there was multiple teams racing, and the chronic dev team was kind of upset with GeoHot because he released some things and maybe exposed some of their exploits and kind of, I mean, it just this whole situation sounds familiar. But most interesting to me is the fact that he's back in the game. This is a guy who's left the jailbreak community after Lime Rain and has just kind of went underground. I mean, he's been in the headlines periodically. He got in trouble for hacking the PS3, jailbreaking the PS3. I know he went to work at Facebook. I think we even reported he started a little app team and came out with an app, some kind of camera.
That was fake.
I think that was a joke.
Oh, okay.
Reflections.
Well, later got proven to be a joke, but whatever. I mean, he's made headlines periodically, but he has in no way been really affiliated with the jailbreak community until now. Here he surfaces again. He's one of the more talented guys. If you don't remember his backstory, he was just a kid, I think 14, 15 or whatever, when he first unlocked the first iPhone. And he's just been kind of infamous for that and his multiple exploits he's released after that since then. It's cool to see him back. And I think it's interesting that there was, two or three teams working on racing to get this jailbreak out. It's interesting. The whole thing is just, it's not your typical, we've been working hard on this, perfect release, few updates, and then that's all the news. There's all this extra stuff going on behind the scenes.
So I think some of one of the I guess more disappointing aspects of this whole thing, the way it went down, is that no one's ready. This not only caught us off guard, not only caught, just your normal users who are interested in jailbreaking their devices off guard, but he caught nearly, if not all, developers, including Sorek himself, completely off guard. So no one's ready. None of the apps or tweaks that we like to use have been updated for iOS 7. Cydia itself hasn't been updated for iOS 7. So there's just a lot of, I guess, dangling pieces that need to be cleaned up and patched together somehow. And a lot of developers are really angry, and some of them have even threatened or have quit, said they quit anyway. We'll see what happens down the line, but some of them are really, really ticked off.
Yeah, that's I guess now that all the other stuff we've talked about, all the other stuff, focusing on jailbreak. So you've jailbreaking your device. What can you do? We have a list, and kind of a running list on IDB of which tweaks have been found to be compatible so far. I know we haven't verified all of these independently. A lot of these are crowdsourced. People, our readers and our commenters are giving us these, and then other people are testing them. Other readers are testing them. So we're trying to make changes as we learn more. But yeah, I guess the rule of thumb is most of your tweaks probably aren't going to work for a while, because not only did this catch everybody off guard, but there wasn't an iOS 7, even a tethered iOS 7 jailbreak released. And if there was, it wasn't to very many people. And so a lot of these developers haven't had a chance to see how their tweaks react to iOS 7 and make the necessary updates for them to be completely compatible. So I feel like this is going to be a longer process than it normally is.
Yeah, and then
to get everything up to speed.
Right, and then mobile substrate. That's what pretty much every tweak uses to function properly. That hasn't been updated, so it's going to be a long process before we see everything start to come together and be a cohesively running unit.
Yeah, like for me, for example, I jailbroke my Retina iPad Mini. But I will not be breaking my main device, my iPhone 5S, until much further down the line, until things are more stable and a lot of the tweaks that I want to use daily or more frequently are updated and reliable for iOS 7.
Yeah, well, the only kind of concern with that now, one good thing about this whole thing is that at least thus far, the beta versions of iOS 7, 7.1, beta 1 and 2 are compatible with this jailbreak. So hopefully that means that when Apple releases iOS 7.1, it won't break the exploits out there.
See, my big concern about that, though, is not to interrupt you, or I did interrupt you, I'm sorry. But it's just that there's going to be 3 or 4. I mean, this was released well before 7.1 is going to be released. I feel like this will be patched on day 1.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, but not necessarily because, I think, was it 6... The last Evasion jailbreak took a while before it was patched.
Yeah, it wasn't patched right away. That's correct. Yeah, so there's still chances that we might be able to jailbreak iOS 7.1, and I sure hope so, because 7.1 is supposed to bring in a much more stability improvement over what we currently have. So that would be a good thing, definitely a good thing for users if we were able to jailbreak iOS 7.1 rather than 7.0.2.
Yeah.
Didn't Evasion for iOS 6, didn't that hit after 6.1 landed? I thought that's what they wait. From what I remember, I was thinking that's what they were waiting for, was 4.1 to drop so they could release it, so Apple wouldn't patch it right away.
I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think I do remember having a version of iOS being pushed out without fixing the jailbreak. I think I do remember that.
Maybe it didn't get solved. I think you're right, actually. I think it lasted through 7.1.1 and 0.2, and then it got patched on 0.3. Or I'm sorry, 6. I was saying 7, but it worked on 6.1.1, 0.2, and then it got patched on 0.3.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think you guys are right.
Yeah, I'm actually looking this up now. iOS hackers can't wait for it. Yeah, 6.1 was when it was released, I believe.
And then it lasted through 2 updates before Apple fixed it. So you guys are right. We may, when 7.1 drops, it may still be in effect.
I hope so. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they waited till 6.1 came out, to the 0.1 release came out last time. Now they haven't done it this time, and we're still just only 2 cycles into the beta. It is possible, like Sebastien said, that this could be patched, and that will be a big loss for, I think, users.
But again, that was either this, a jailbreak right now, or no jailbreak, probably no jailbreak at all, or maybe a jailbreak later on by someone like GeoHot, but something that would give up much more important vulnerabilities that would have been used in the future. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, I don't know. I think time will tell us if it was a good thing or bad thing, but something else that's interesting, and something that we had learned earlier today, but that was confirmed by the evaders in their statement, that Zorik had been in talks with Chinese companies regarding potential partnerships. So it seems that Zorik wanted to push Cydia to Chinese users, and maybe a Chinese Cydia version. Maybe not just a translated version of Cydia, but maybe something that would cater more to Chinese people in China. I think that's interesting, and it seems from reading all of these tweets and back and forth, and from information that we also have ourselves, that Zorik approached the evaders approached Zorik saying, hey, we want to have a deal with this Chinese company. And Zorik said, oh, wait, I'm going to try to make a deal with some Chinese company, and then you can try to make a deal with me instead, and bundle up my Chinese Cydia in there. And it seems that the money talked in the end, and Zorik wasn't able to come up with the right partnership or the right amount of money to ink a deal with someone in China or something like this, and then it all fell through, and the rest, I guess, is history. Now we have Taiji bundled up for Chinese users. So I thought that was pretty interesting to know that Zorik was looking at China, and now I don't know if he was looking at China before or after he found out that the evaders were looking at China themselves. I think that's interesting. And I mean, that's interesting because that's the business aspect of jailbreaking here. And that's something we never hear about, because jailbreaking is always about this like flowery, beautiful world where everybody's working for free, and it's all about the community and helping people out and making the best of it and fighting Apple, the giant, and like that's on a day like this that you realize that this is real. This is
money talks.
Money talks, and like everywhere,
and that's a good point, Sebastien, because I know we've given Ionic, we normally don't mention his name, but we've given him his fair share of slack and stuff. But he has called out, people for trying to profit or saying that they're, just about flowers and getting along and not about the money. But in the end, it seems, in this case at least, the money won out.
Yep.
I have just another interesting aspect to all of this, and I know Muscle Nerd probably did not tweet this out as to be serious or whatnot, but Muscle Nerd tweeted out a CNN article. Basically, the top story on CNN right now is that Apple just finally, after all this time, after years of negotiations, just inked a deal with China Mobile, and the biggest carrier in the world, and they're starting to take pre-orders. And so I want, it makes you think, like I said, I don't know what his exact intentions, if he was just being playful or whatnot, but you really have to think, this is the largest carrier in the world, over 700 million subscribers. The fact that this comes out and then that deal happens,
right,
and now there's going to be how many more millions of people with iPhones wanting to jailbreak. It makes you think that this was all set up from the beginning, because that $1 million is a big number. But if your store, Taiji, is about to be installed on, potentially millions, tens of millions more devices, maybe it's worth it. 700
million China Mobile users. You'd think at least a quarter of those are probably going to be interested in the iPhone.
Maybe, yeah,
if not more.
30. Yeah, there's already 40 million unlocked iPhones running 2G service on China Mobile's network. So you'd have to think at least that many would want to look at maybe going legit with an actual iPhone from China Mobile.
Right,
yeah,
but you gotta also remember that the average salary in China is a fraction of ones of people in the US. So 700 million subscribers for China Mobile, of course. But I think in the best of the worst, Jeff, they would never reach 25% penetration for the iPhone in China on this specific carrier. That sounds like, because I believe that China Mobile is all about, like the farmers deep inside China providing them like a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to bring in, obviously they're going to sell some millions of iPhones. I don't think half or a quarter of China Mobile users will get iPhones. And maybe in the future, I don't see if it's coming in the next year or 2 or 3 years or 5 years for that matter. Can you imagine like 200 million or what's 700 divided by 4? What is this? That's 175 or something. I'm so bad at math. I mean, roughly 200 million, 150 million iPhone. That sounds like insane numbers. There's not that many iPhone in the US or in Europe combined. This being said, China Mobile, 700 million users, that's more than twice the population of the US. That's insane in itself.
Yeah. It's 7 times as many as there are many subscribers as Verizon, our largest carrier, has. Right. 7 times that many.
Right. To me, just the fact that this thing saying China Mobile is twice as big as the population of the US is just insane. Insane. You can take everybody in the US times 2. And that's not even the amount of users on China Mobile. That's just insane.
So when does the iPhone drop in China on China Mobile?
People can order it, pre-order it on December 25, and it will be available on January 17.
Man, it may just be a coincidence, and it probably is.
It is.
That that is some really good timing on their part.
Great timing.
Yeah, indeed. But to go back to Sorek, he seems, and I was telling Jeff earlier today, he seems badly hurt that the evaders released this thing without his without his knowledge, being completely out of the loop. And I picked up a couple of tweets from Sorek, and I find them to be not very straightforward. If you remember, Jeff, you remember, we wrote a post a few weeks ago. Or was it you, Cody? We wrote a post about Winterboard, and we actually took.
That was me.
Yeah, that was you, right? We took a sentence that Sorek actually wrote on Reddit, and we put this sentence back on IDB, and put some stuff around it, of course. And then Sorek came back at us saying we disformed the truth, that's not what he was saying because we didn't take the context. Well, context or no context, whatever you say is whatever you say. If I say this is black, and if in context I say, well, this is a lighter shade of black, well, you still said this is black no matter what. If you said this is black at some point, that's what you said, that's it. So, he made...
We quoted him directly.
Huh?
Like I copied and pasted his exact little paragraph.
Right. And then he went back and forth. It was a direct quote, and he had Breda, his assistant, email us and stuff, and he was just really pinpointing all these little details and things. And at the end, I was like, you know what? I'll just scrap the whole post together. And I think I just went back to the post and I just removed everything and put a statement in there saying, we don't want to hurt Sorek's feelings, so I'll just delete all that stuff. Anyway, so that was funny because he was really on top of each single word and very analyzing each word and the meaning and the weight of each word. And today he's saying all these things on Twitter, and he needs to be called out for this because when he is like he is, then he has to be like he is with himself too and not expect people to be the way he wants them to be. So he's saying, I guess now the argument that if people come to me with a potential jailbreak in order to not backstab, quote unquote, I'm not allowed to help them. And he said something else. I guess I don't understand. We really wanted Taiji deal. So when we heard a rumor of an open jailbreak, we were rushed. Shame on Sorek. So he's saying all that as if he was paraphrasing the evaders, and that's not what evaders said in their statement. There was no mention, or in reading this statement from the evaders, nowhere in there I felt that the evaders were saying Sorek backstabbed us. Nowhere in there I have this feeling, and also nowhere in the evader statement I see or I fear that the evaders are saying shame on Sorek for what he did. And yet that's what Sorek is saying on Twitter, and it's still here, making it sound like the evaders are saying shame on Sorek and Sorek backstabbed us. And I think that's very wrong. That's very wrong because he's kind of surfing on this wave of anti evaders right now. People are pissed at the evaders, and he's surfing on that and taking this to his advantage, pretending to be a victim in there. And I mean, he's everything but a victim. He was not aware of what was going on, but he's not a victim in there, and that's not cool to play it as is, and that's definitely not cool to make it sound that the evaders are saying shame on Sorik and Sorik backstabbed us, because that's not what they said. I mean, did you have any sense that the evaders said anything like this in their statement, Cody?
No, not at all. I mean, just from the post you wrote from your source, and then reading their full explanation, right, their whole breakdown, it sounded just like the money, maybe, I don't want to say the money won out, but a deal couldn't be reached for whatever reason. They were going to talk about doing a deal together. For some reason that fell through, and they ended up splitting, right? Two separate groups, maybe a third with GeoHot and his team, but it didn't sound like there was any really backstabbing going on. I mean, and we don't know the whole story. Right. We should say we don't know. There's some holes definitely here that we haven't been able to fill in yet. But from what they've publicly said, this is not the vibe I'm getting at all. That a deal couldn't be worked out, and they just kind of gone their separate ways just on this. I mean, to be honest, Cydia is still automatically being installed on all devices except for Chinese users, and even there they have the option to install it. So it's not like they scrapped his store for anything else.
Right. Anyway, that was a little thing I wanted to mention because I think it needed to be mentioned. And so Jeff, did you jailbreak your iPhone?
Yes, I broke it on my Mac. Jailbroke my iPhone 5S. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't work really well right now. I mean, there's nothing. I guess I just need to play around with it a little bit more. But it caught me by such a surprise, and there really wasn't any hype building up to it to make me like anticipate it, like, oh, this is coming. I'm so excited. It's kind of underwhelming. I don't know if I'm the only person that feels that way, but I haven't opened Cydia once since I jailbroke. Mm-hmm. Like it's been open once to install like the updates that come with it every time you install Cydia for the first time. But other than that, I mean, I haven't even gone out to see what's out there because I know the stuff that I do want to try probably doesn't work. And there's no new tweaks to take advantage of iOS 7's new features yet. Now, that being said, some of those will probably be coming down the line. But if there would have been more of a notice, and I'm not faulting anyone for anything, but if there would have been more of a notice and there would have been some hype generated with it, I think it would have benefited the users more.
I want to give Jeff a t-shirt that says, meh. Just in real big font, meh, period. It seems like I can't remember the last time this guy got super excited, and I thought for sure this jailbreak might do it.
I remember the last time I was excited. That was for the Kindle Fire.
Really? No, dude. No.
Or the Surface.
No.
But seriously, I mean, and I make a joke, but I do kind of agree with you. Yeah. There's not a lot to be excited right now. We have, like we said before, we have a list of working tweaks, a crowdsourced list, so we haven't verified these all independently yet, but there are some that are working. Most of them are not. Most of the big ones are not. And like you said, there's nothing taking advantage of iOS 7 specific features like Control Center and things like that. It'd have been super cool. I mean, in a perfect world, right? If they would have all collaborated, there was a tons of a heads up given to developers. They were able to prepare some iOS 7 specific tweaks, and the jailbreak and these tweaks all kind of launched like a big console launch with a bunch of games, right? But that didn't happen. And so it's just kind of a waiting game. We got to wait and see which developers are going to update their tweaks first, and then wait and kind of see new stuff, Yeah,
I have to agree with both of you guys, and especially with you, Jeff. There's just nothing going on. I mean, we have a jailbreak, but we can't really do anything with it. I mean, in my case, there is just a few specific tweaks that I really want to install. I can think of 3 of them, and they're not updated for iOS 7. So I'm here with my iPhone 5S with Cydia icon on it, and it looks great, but there's nothing I can do.
It looks great.
So and I didn't launch Cydia forever. I just installed and then I launched Cydia to select, what are you, a user, a hacker, or developer, and selected my thing, updated Cydia, just put the phone down and been working all day. And then later this afternoon, I was like, oh wait, I need to check out Cydia, how it looks like or something. And I checked it out, and yeah, there was this feeling of, being underwhelmed.
Yeah, because it's not only that, but it still looks like iOS 6. So it's
Cydia looks just like crap right now.
Yeah,
it's ugly.
It's terrible. So
I mean, they removed like the pinstripes in the background, but that was just like a quick, dirty fix, really.
Yeah. So I don't want to sound like this downer, but right now it's just not at the level that we expect or that we are used to. Like when the jailbreak hits, you're used to just a deluge of apps coming down the pipeline and tweaks that have been updated. I remember last time with iOS 6, I was actually in Paris, and I mean, it was just app after tweak after tweak being updated, and it was just hard to keep up. So it kind of put a damper on my vacation trying to do all that. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for another podcast.
No, and again, this is all about, this is all about the invaders releasing this out of the blue without putting anyone in the loop. And I mean, that kind of ruined the excitement and everything that's good about jailbreaking, because we're here and people are mad at each other and everybody's pissed. Some people are saying they are quitting the jailbreak scene, and a bunch of users on IDB are saying, you know what, this is disgusting. I'm out of it. I mean, they're just saying that today and tomorrow. I'll be like, okay, let's see what's new on Cydia. But still, there's still this very
the goodwill of it has been lost. I think a lot of the goodwill of it has been lost, and I think there's no denying that jailbreaking is not as popular as it once was, and I think this whole episode continues to further cement that, at least in the minds of your average user who doesn't use jailbreaking for piracy. Of course, the people who use it for piracy are just as excited as they've always been because they can get free apps and cracked apps and all that. But those of us who legitimately use Cydia for cool stuff because you can do cool stuff with your phone, it is kind of underwhelming and disappointing.
But this is just a matter of time, too. I mean, some people might be quitting, and I sure hope some of the names I saw won't be quitting. I know CHPwn mentioned that he might think about it, and that would be, I think, a big loss for the jailbreak community because he comes up with these amazing tweaks.
D. Howitt, the guy who does preference loader.
Dustin Howitt.
Howitt, yeah. He is, a big part of the community.
Yes, that's right. I mean, hopefully this is just a matter of time and things will settle down a bit. And some people are going to start updating their tweaks, and maybe tomorrow, or in a couple of days from now, when you launch Cydia, when it refreshes, you're going to see a few packages at the top, and maybe the community will recover from it. If we all stick together, we'll recover.
The bottom line is
all stick together.
Bottom line is that money does talk, as we've noted throughout this. This talk, money talks, and Cydia is still a source of revenue. And if Sorg wants to, and developers want to generate some funds, then they're going to update their apps.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I have my wallet ready, and I'm ready to spend some money on some tweaks right now. So if developers want to get at it, please knock yourself out. Off. Knock yourself out or off? I never know.
No, knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out. Why would you knock yourself out? If you knock yourself out, you can't develop a tweak because you're knocked out.
Well, I think it's, and I don't even know if we used it in the right context, but I think typically it means like, yeah, go ahead, do this specific thing until your heart's content or until you wear yourself out. Just knock yourself out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Typical idiot.
Yeah. Next week on Let's Talk Jailbreak. Hey, I guess that's something to mention too, right? I mean, I know we just did an episode last week, but that was our first one in a month or two just because news had gotten so quiet. It looks like, I guess we'll have to see how tweak updates and things like that go. But it looks like we'll be able to do this show a little more regularly now that there's a lot more, now that there's a new jailbreak and things to talk about.
Right. That's a good thing.
So I like that aspect.
So, Jeff doesn't seem so excited about it.
He's got his mess shirt on.
I'm testing out XBMC, and that does appear to work. So that makes me a little happy.
Meh. I remember you got what was it? You got the Pebble watch, and you were like, meh. You got the Pebble smartwatch, and I don't know. It seemed like you said that about a few
speaking of
things
that,
about the new iPads.
I can't wait to try that out. Actually, hopefully the Pebble Jailbreak app works still, because that's actually really cool. So,
well, what does it do? I thought it just did like notifications and stuff, and I thought the official app in the App Store does.
I think this does a little bit more. Like you can, if I'm not mistaken, you can like initiate calls and do other stuff from it. But I could be wrong. I haven't really tested it out yet. So looking forward to doing that.
I thought it was kind of cool that, and I don't know how jailbreaks work, so this might have been maybe this was going to happen all along and I just had no idea. But I thought it was cool that these newer devices, despite them having the new A7 processors and things like that, were included in this jailbreak. It's kind of like a one crack for all kind of thing, or not one crack, one hack for all kind of thing. And because there's new technology here. There's the Touch ID home button in the iPhone 5S. In the past, developers have done some amazing things with new features like this with Siri and with the notification center. So I'm excited to see what developers do with this stuff.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Anyway, well, hopefully we'll be back with a lot more tweaks and stuff. I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled. I'm ready to hit up some videos, man. And it's been a while since we've get some good stuff out like that. So
yeah, the YouTube channel is kind of dying out, huh?
Yeah, it's just not.
Just felt like a ghost town.
But I think this is going to kind of kick it in the rear.
So we did a poll on IDB earlier today saying, have you or will you jailbreak your iOS device? And I just looked at the results right now. The poll has been posted for a couple of hours, I think. Let's see how many votes there's been. Over 4,000 votes. So 46% of people said, yes, I have jailbroken my device. Another 38% says, I haven't, but I will. And only a little less than 15% says, no, I haven't, and I will not jailbreak my device. So that's interesting. I mean, still lots of interest here for the jailbreak, despite all the drama surrounding it, and beside the allegation that there might be some Chinese software stealing all your information and sending it back to China. So I think that's interesting. So there does seem to be still a lot of excitement for the jailbreak community. I guess that's what I'm trying to convey.
Yeah. Exciting times. I mean, it's interesting times. So I guess that's it.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That was kind of an episode we didn't obviously program. We didn't plan for it. And I think when you listen to this episode, I think people are going to be able to tell that we were not very prepared for it, because I think we went a little bit all over the place. And I wish we had maybe taken a little more time, and we would have had like a more clean itinerary, something, to follow through. And instead today, I think we went a little bit all over the place. And
it kind of reflects the environment that we're in right now. Actually.
I guess. And
it
plus
reflects the event.
Right. And Cody's been sleeping 2 hours. I've been sitting on my chair for 8 hours now, a little more over 8 hours. I mean, like we're all like kind of, out of our mind really. So I guess that's right, Jeff. That totally reflects the situation right now. But I just hope it's not gonna come across as a bad episode or something like this to our listeners. And I hope people will be interested by the information we shared and that everything makes sense.
Yeah, me too.
All right, guys.
I think we did good.
Well, that was a pleasure as usual.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And I think we'll be back. I think we should meet again next week and see what's going on, because I think a lot is going to happen during this next week. I think actually, I'm thinking about that. I will not be here next week. I didn't tell you guys, but I'll be in Mexico next week, and I will not be able to record anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Our in-laws are taking us to Cabo San Lucas for the New Year's Eve, for New Year's. So we're going to be there with all the family, and I mean, all the family. Everybody.
Staying on a resort?
Yeah, we're staying on a resort, yeah.
Which one?
Can't remember the name.
Barcelo, man.
No, say it again.
Barcelo.
No.
Oh, I love that place.
No, that's not this one. But it's a nice place. It's a nice place. My mother-in-law picked the place, and apparently it's a very nice place, so that should be good. But still, I mean, I will not be available for recording any episode next week.
All right, we'll hold you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hold it down.
Yeah, I think so. I think you guys would be able to do a good job without me. Maybe you would be able to do a better job without me.
No, we'd miss your French accent.
By the way, XBMC does work, and it works lovely on the nice E7 processor.
Oh, here you go.
Nice. We'll have to add this to the list.
Yeah, I'll have to do a post on this because that's something that people just sleep on. I think it's such a cool application.
It's definitely something people sleep on. It's something that we just don't know much about. It's not one of these like highly regarded tweaks, and you tend to forget about it and just don't really pay attention to it. So yeah, maybe like a reminder, not a reminder, but something to talk about this on IDB to refresh people's memory of this pretty good tweak app would be good.
Yeah, I like it. It's you can throw any of your movies on there, and you can stream your movies and do other cool stuff like weather, and there's all kinds of little tweaks and stuff for it. Sort of like the Apple TV on your iPhone, sort of. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, guys, it was a pleasure to be with you, and we should talk again soon.
Sayonara.
Adios.
Peace.